Hello, my name's Ross Cameron and I'm the President of the New South Wales Liberal Democrats. Today I'm joined by our lead number one candidate for the New South Wales Upper House in the coming state election on March 2023, John Ruddick. Great to see you.
G'day, Roscoe.
Subject of our immediate conversation is why a traditional National Party voter should consider at this election voting for the Liberal Democrats. John Ruddick, let's hear the case.
You know, Ross, throughout Australian history, we've had the National Party, which used to be the Country Party, in coalition with the Liberal Party. And looking at the big picture, the National Party was always to the right of the Liberal Party on almost all policies. But in the last 20 years, the Liberal Party has sort of lost its philosophical moorings. And in the past, the National Party would have sort of said, hey, what's happening, Liberal Party, and dragged them further to the right. But the National Party, as well as the Liberal Party, has just sort of lost any sort of policy conviction. Now, we saw that with, you remember when Barnaby Joyce had to resign because he had the little...
dalliance.
The dalliance, yes. So he resigned and he was a backbencher for a period of time, after having been the parliamentary leader. Now, when he was a backbencher...
He was terrific.
Absolutely. You know, he was saying all the right things, okay, and people like you and I say, well, gee, you know, maybe it would be good if he comes back into the leadership. And he was, you know, being very sceptical of global warming and a lot of other good things. Then he becomes the leader, and it's just like back to the bad old days. Something happens to the National Party and the Liberal Party when they get the top job. They just sort of forget about trying to have good policy.
Well, we'll try and find something nice to say about the Nationals, but we should, on the point you raise, I mean, it was for me the stake through the heart of the soul of the National Party was when Barnaby Joyce, as leader, flipped on global warming and climate change. And Barnaby Joyce effectively said to Scott Morrison, well, our party is for sale. What are you prepared to offer? And Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg, who was desperate to hold his seat of Kooyong and felt he had to do this deal to survive personally. And Barnaby just kept on, ramping up the price, which included the restoration of David Littleproud to cabinet, one more cabinet minister for the National Party, and we'll flip on climate change, plus about 60 billion in pork that National Party members can dole out in their seats, turn up on an intersection with a hard hat on and a press release saying, oh, you know, your National Party member has built this roundabout. Now, all I say to the traditional National Party, but the National Party, like the Liberal Party, push me, pull you, Dom Perrottet, Matt Keane, in fundamentally unaligned. The National Party is split between its more fashionable, modernist, coastal, bigger cities, and then your traditional sort of dirt under the fingernails, diesel grease from maintaining the tractor. And these two groups are in fundamental dissent within the organism of the modern National Party. Yeah. Indeed, Aristotle, in the Nicomachean Ethics, I think it was, spoke about the virtue of farmers in the political process.
Oh, right. Because
he said the farmer sees the come and go of the seasons, sees the joining and the birth of the cattle, of the calves, sees the growing of the crop and the harvest, feels the impact of nature, of storms and hail, etc. Right. And this connection with the natural cycles made farmers in Aristotle's mind the finest selectors of political talent.
Very interesting.
But this has been lost.
Well, once a month or so, there'll be an ABC News TV show and they'll go out and they'll meet a farmer who'll say on camera for 10 seconds, oh yeah, I'm really worried about global warming. Oh yeah, I've definitely seen the effects of global warming here. It's all crap, okay? Because, I would say at least 90% of farmers know that they don't believe in global warming. But the ABC can go and find one guy who says, oh yeah, we're really concerned about it. But it is not reflective of the average farmer, because as you said, and as Aristotle said, who's more plugged in with nature more than the farmer? Obviously, nobody. Okay.
Well, I should, if I give you just a self-indulgent family anecdote. Interestingly, the Camerons were Protestants, were Presbyterians, indeed were Calvinists, as indeed on my mother's side, the Bicketts were in Gunnedah, and my grandfather had a property on the Namoy River. And their tradition was they did not work on Sundays. But it was on the occasion of the harvest, when all the neighbouring farmers were out there furiously gathering the crop. And my grandfather, as a relatively young man, sat on the veranda and a hailstorm came in and wiped out the crop. He never went to church again in his life.
Right.
But the point I want to make on behalf of the farmers who have been left behind by Barnaby Joyce, David Littleproud and the National Party, who flipped on the biggest and most important issue, is the people who are most have a target written on their back globally as a consequence of this movement is the family-owned farmer. And we're now seeing in places in the Scandinavian countries this mandatory appropriation of farms because governments are looking at farmers and saying, you are causing global warming, we must mandatorily buy your farms and we will do it by force if you won't voluntarily surrender them. So we're seeing these vast movements of tractors out, farmers saying, our families have been farming for generations. This is the only life we know and understand. And we're putting bread on your table. We're putting beef on your plate. And I just say to the farmer, if you are looking for an advocate who does not buy into this racket, vote for John Ruddick and the Liberal Democrats in the New South Wales Upper House.
Well, you know, there is I would guess 80% of people that live in a National Party seat are not farmers. They live in towns like Tamworth or Wagga. Their lifestyle is not too dissimilar to living in suburban Sydney. Now, but what the National Party is completely hooked on is extracting money out of the government.
Subsidies.
Yeah, and spending a pork. Okay, now during the federal election, I was down at Wagga and I saw Michael McCormack, the former Deputy Prime Minister. He sent out this 16-page booklet about, got 20,000 there to build this picnic place. 70,000 there for some art thing. Okay, it was nothing else. He said, re-elect me because I bring government money to the electorate. Now, I'm urging the National Party voters to just think about this a little bit further. If you truly want prosperity in your communities, what you need is a thriving private sector. You need big tax cuts. You need deregulation. You need to be able to let farmers farm. Now, all this pork, it doesn't bring prosperity. It's a photo op for the local politician. We'd all be thriving, particularly the rural areas, if we just had less tax, generally speaking, and a free market economy. And the other thing is I would say about the Nationals is, the average National Party member are the finest people in Australia. They are just, I'm talking about the membership. Yes. Okay, they are really good people. So I know that there will be people out there watching who'll think, oh no, well look, I know the National Party's let us down, but we can turn it around. Now, you might be right, okay, but I think if you want to send them a message on this occasion, please vote for the Liberal Democrats, okay, because we really are the party that will be the best for rural Australia, and give us a go, but send a message to the National Party that they can't keep betraying what their membership and their voters truly believe in.
Well, you may have someone who you regard for one reason or another as a good National Party candidate or member in the lower house. But we would strongly encourage you in the upper house to look for that Liberal Democratic Party logo above the line on the 25th of March or on a pre-poll booth in the week beforehand. Vote one, John Ruddick, Liberal Democrat for the New South Wales Legislative Council.
Authorised by Robert Cribb, Liberal Democrats, Hornsby.